Hey y'all, it's Sharon and I'm back to share another policing experience with you guys. If you're new to the channel, I'm a retired detective. I worked for 20 years for a southeastern city in the US and I was also in the military. I am sharing my experiences along with my perspective in hopes of helping others see policing the way I saw it and the way I experienced it. And hopefully this will help others in similar situations. And I wanted to share the fact that I was asked yet again twice, I think, this week, why is it that we see officers not being held accountable? And I said, officers are being held accountable. We're just seeing some of the outstanding things the more egregious offenses in the news and things like that. Uh, but I will say this, and I said that to them. I said, what you're seeing is accountability is not it's not a pillar or a strong pillar within uh, our internal affairs and whatever the agency is called that holds officers accountable. And I can say this because I've experienced it. When I say accountability is not a strong pillar, it's because based on the SOPs, not all of them, some of them, they're very vague and very broad, if you will. I equated it to high school. You're in a class, one of your high school classes, and there's 20 students in there, including yourself. The teacher gives you a test on the rules and the regulations of the class, and everybody fails. Is it because the teacher didn't teach it correctly? Is it because the students didn't study and they're not so bright, maybe? Or is it that the SOPs were so vague and so broad for the class that everybody interpreted the SOPs or the elements of the SOPs differently? I would equate it to the last choice. Everyone's interpretation and understanding of the SOPs showed through the testing and what happened. And I say that with our SOPs when I was policing in that agency, some of them were so broad and so vague, it was left up to interpretation of whoever read it. And I know within the agency that I worked, if an officer got in trouble, got fired, and you appealed it, if you could prove that another officer was treated differently and had a different outcome based on the same behavior, you could always get your job back. And so that vague and broad SOP it was left up to the interpretation of whoever might have been the sergeant or above interpreting it and then implementing it for that individual or upon that individual. That's the problem. Accountability, like I said, it's not a strong pillar that undergirds policing. It's not. You see it all the time. It's not. And that's just my opinion, of course. It's not. If we're going to hold everybody accountable, that means from the bottom up and from the top down. But how do we hold the leaders accountable? I have a plan. I have a whole outline on how it can be done, because a lot of people, you can still support the police, be gun-ho for the police, if you will, and still realize there is a problem within policing, within the rank and file itself. And SOPs and their vagueness and broadness is one of them. I guess that's a word. But yeah, I just want to share that little bit with you because I've had people always ask me, how is it that we see officers getting their jobs back? And that's why. If you can prove that someone else was had the same type of behavior and got their job back or had less punishment, you're always going to see them get their jobs back. And that is a problem. If you look within the agency, I remember the news, one of the newspapers, they keep asking about how many police officers does the agency actually have on the street? And nobody ever asks the question, well, how are you coming up with these numbers? Because they start counting people that are on desk duty and all that stuff. No. All you got to do is, if you want the actual numbers, check the sign-in sheet for in-service and who is getting recertified. You'll know the exact numbers. But for some reason, people don't do that. And why is that? I mean, it's obvious, but they don't do it. Now, I say that and I share that because sometimes we want to ask questions and get an answer. And then when sometimes we don't ask questions because we don't want the answer. We got to stop that in policing and everywhere else. You know, people get upset because sometimes the truth, it's a ouch. That hurts. But in policing, we need the police, but we also need to have accountability as the foundation within policing, from the top down and from the bottom up. Accountability in every section of policing. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little bit with you. You know why now? Officers always get their jobs back if you can prove. I've seen it with drunk driving. I've seen it with actual shootings of other officers. I've seen it. Yeah, it's bad. Somebody want to take a deep dive into that and go visit any agency that has more than 1,000 officers and see how they run things and do things through their SOP and go through some of the backgrounds in terms of internal affairs. I said enough. All right. Hey, check out our online store. The link is in the description. I created some notebooks. The links for those are in the description and take you straight to Amazon. Oh, I also created an autumn word search puzzle book. The link for that will be in the description. And with that being said, guys, always remember, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.